I have mixed feelings about Before You Go, and my main issue is the fact that flows, beats, lyrics, lyrical content, production, after the sixth song, it all sounds the same. And that's an issue with the fact that, well, he has his formula, but for the life of me, I wish that nigga would deviate from it, seriously. Nonetheless, and that's my issue, his beats are good, amazing. Yes, they're the same beat, but they have such a strong quintessential formula. And in this video, we're gonna take a look at that quintessential formula. Let's go. Now, I mean no shade when I say that if you have a dope drum beat at like a 90 between 95 BPMs with a hard kick and a rim shot, and you have a melody preferably played on an electric guitar but an acoustic works fine, you're practically at 90% of the beat. So the first thing that we're going to be breaking down should actually be the drums, since that's the most defining element, but for the sake of staying within my formula, we're going to start with the electric guitar. Hey, and before we continue, beautiful folks, I'm actually recording this at the end of the video. I know that in the previous video I did say that it was practically impossible or harder to make a blast type beats without an actual electric guitar. I want to walk back that statement. I apologize for that statement. That's an elitist statement because not everybody has access to a guitar. Not everybody's able to play guitar. I just have the luxury and the dedication of playing a guitar for the better part of like the past 2 years during the lockdown. But it's perfectly possible to make these kinds of beats with just VSTs. There's Ample Sound, which is a good provider. There's Orange 3 samples, which I still use. There's Electric Sunburst Deluxe by Native Instrument. There's Impact Soundworks with a semi-hollow body jazz VST, and there's Shredded Free. I think it's called the Shredded Free Archtop. So there's a lot of things to choose from. So it's perfectly possible to make these beats with just VSTs. Now, beautiful people, I'd be capping if I said that this was a super difficult or a mad original chord progression. It's actually just 1, 3, 6, 5 in the scale of D sharp minor, but in the beat I pitched it up to E minor. So this is our first degree, this is our third degree major chord, this is our 6th degree major chord, this is our 5th degree A minor chord. So alright, beautiful folks, welcome back into Logic Pro X, and it's a beautiful day to break down this blast type beat. I already told you we're working in the key of E minor, and our scale degrees that we're using are 1, 3, 6, and 5. 6 and 5 is a cadence that I use often because it's tension filled and it's quintessential to R&B beats, because if you look at the root notes, it's just one semitone apart, and I absolutely love it. Sometimes it works better when the 5th is a dominant chord. For this one I decided to go for a regular schmegular B minor 7 chord. So let's just go over the chords real quick. Of course, I'm starting with my first degree in a scale of E minor, which is an E minor 9th chord, or at least I extended it to an E minor 9th chord, of course. After that, I goes up to this G major 7 chord right here, which I inverted because it fit the guitar movement a lot more better. After that, I go to the C major 7 chord right here. That patch sounds beautiful, by the way. I'm gonna break it down later. And I land on this B minor 7 chord right here. So the chord progression in its totality sounds like this. And you heard that little tension-filled chord at the end. That is my boom C sharp dominant 7 with a flat 9, which I use as a passing chord to go back to this regular schmegular E minor 9th chord, and it works amazing. So what's the fella to do after the guitar is already recorded and processed, and I have a patch of Lo-Fi Midnight playing the Zen Garden patch in the Midnight Keys section, well, I decided to add another layer played by the Blxst, of course, which goes kind of like this. Now, I purposefully went ahead and gave it a more wavy sound, and that's actually simply achieved by playing with the portamento, playing with the ADSR, so the attack, decay, sustain, and release, of course, turned up the attack a little bit, gave it a little bit of a vibrato, and played a little bit with the waveform. I really like how it's just a saw waveform, or at least it sounds like that to me, which just kind of fades in, gives a cool wavy effect. So after that, I went down to the mellotron. I thought that strings were appropriate, kind of a choiry, almost string-ish patch. I don't know which one of the two it is. It is the Blue Monday Male Choir, which I'm a heart because I really like that patch. I've got some processing on it. I've got choral on it, you know, make it a little bit more wider. Shaper box, have it phasing in and out, of course, in terms of volume, and I just EQ'd a little bit with neutron free. So if we want to look at my sample, this is actually what I am rocking with today. So let's talk drums in a blast type beat, like your quintessential basic everyday hit single blast type beat. I am partial to Prod by Jack's kicks and perks because I feel that they really encapsulate that sound that Blxst uses. They're hard hitted, they're leveled properly. I really like them. So it's this kick that I'm kind of rocking with. Or basically these are just the drum sounds that I'm rocking with. Now I do want to say that you can substitute the rim shot for a clap if you want. You can introduce hi-hat rolls. You can choose to just remove the kick and go for an 808 that basically just substitute the kick. You can do that, but this is what I recognize from having listened to Before You Go and the deluxe albums and the mixtapes before that. The sound has remained relatively similar, and that's a compliment to him because he has a recognizable sound, and I think I'm in a minority of people that are kind of catching onto it, but hey, the formula works. So one thing I want to touch on in terms of the 808 is basically the placement of your 808s, of course. What helps in blast type beats is not going for the long sustained notes. You actually want to get a little bit of a groove, a little bit of a stutter going on, so that's why I have them timed at the same time as the kick. But it's basically just short stabs, and often it's a long half note, but mostly it's quarter notes, sometimes it's even 8 notes. And try to give your bass a little bit of a melodic element. Don't just sit there playing on the root notes. That's boring, that's lazy, and that does not contribute to the vibe of a blast type beat. Also, for those that are wondering, the 808 that I use does not come from a kit. It's just one that I made in Sublab, and I really want to put y'all onto Sublab. Let me just, for the hell of it, let me just open up a new audio track, and I just keep forgetting my hotkeys. Let me just open up a software instrument track with Sublab. Sublab has kind of been a lifesaver because often the kits in the 808s and the kits that I have, they don't really fit my liking. So what I usually do is I take out one of these standard patches and I tweak them to my liking. There's like standard kits that come with Sublab. Sublab doesn't pay me, so please don't think I'm making any PR. But if you want to make 808s that fit your liking a bit more, go for Sublab. Alright then, beautiful folks, that concludes this breakdown, this very short and very sweet breakdown of a blast type beat. Look, making a blast type beat is definitely not as easy as it sounds. There are tons of barriers you gotta overcome. I have the luxury of having spent a year and a half learning guitar, so I'm able to express myself using my guitar. So whatever, go out there and just make some dope guitar type beats for blast. Alright, y'all have fun, and I'm gonna see y'all in the next video. Peace.